Now, one thing important for survey design is documenting your survey itself. So when you're doing your preparing your mock proposal, you're going to have in an appendix in your proposal at the very end an actual version of your survey. And that what you'll have for us for a mock proposal, it doesn't have to be overly complicated, but it should include the branching, right? So it should have branching for so if they say yes to this, they go to this question, right? So like you see here, um, in the past 12 months, that is from day, whatever it is, to yesterday, did you do anything to improve your health? If, for example, lose weight, yes, no. If they said no, you go to CH13. If you say yes, you just go to the next question. What is the single most important change you have made? So the branch here, the logic step here is if you say yes, you just continue with the flow of the survey, right? They say yes, you go to question 2. If they said no, then you go to question 3. And question 3 may ask them, well, why haven't you considered anything to improve your health? And if they don't know or no response, if they don't know, then it just goes to just end it. They don't even ask question 2 or 3. You go on to the next section, right? But what you have to do is you got to kind of like block it out and document it in your actual survey. So here's the question. Here are the responses that are available to them. If they say yes, don't worry about it. They just skip to the next question, question 2. If they say no, you put in brackets here, go to CIH Q3. Okay. The principal documentation of the survey is the questionnaire itself or the paperwork used to record subjects' responses, right? So you can have the questionnaire itself, you can document it in your proposal, or you can actually, if you're doing a paper survey, you can also have the, like a copy of your actual paper survey. So sometimes in the old days, they used to use fill in the dot surveys with the old, it was really old. So I used to do it years ago. It was so painful. You had yeah, it was like sometimes with some tests, I don't know, I don't know, it was SATs and stuff, where some universities have you got to kind of like it's a multiple choice. You got to fill in with a lead pencil, a circle, or you fill in an answer. Um, if you had one of those things for you're never going to have to do it for your proposal. Then you'd have to include a copy of the actual paperwork used to record subjects' responses. The document can also include manuals for both the interviewers and their supervisors. So the documentation can say, okay, here is the training that was done for the interviewers, and here is the exact script that they followed. And that would be more for CADI-based surveys, and CADI means computer-assisted telephone interviewing. So, and what that all means is in the old days, they probably still do it to some extent. You'd have all the telephone numbers, and you used to start randomly picking telephone numbers. You call the number. Hello, I'm so and so from the research analyst program. Would you be interested in answering a few questions on, I don't know, use of hand calculators? And also too, it can gives data coding manual. So there's levels of complexity to documentation for surveys. And just to show an example, okay, so we have I have a computer CADI survey manual. And once again, a CADI system is as you're actually phoning people up. Okay, these are just okay, so they had some French translation issues. This was the health survey. So, and they go right to the questions and they code them. They tell you what number is included. And then they go to start a few questions about healthcare services in Ontario. Overall, how would you rate the availability of healthcare services in Ontario? Would you say it is, read category to respondent, excellent, good, fair, poor? Don't know, are. and then they'd give a score to 1, 2, 3, or 4. And that was how you would do it in SPSS. Overall, how would you rate the quality of the healthcare services that are provided in Ontario? Excellent, good, fair, poor. And they would go through the survey, right? This survey deals with various aspects of your health. I'll be asking about such things as physical activity, social relations, and health status. By health, we mean not only the absence of disease or injury, but also physical, mental, and social well-being. So they're telling them there's a whole series. And see, this is how you kind of, when you're grouping questions together. And one thing you'll often do in good survey design is give like a little spiel, a summary of what the next questions are going to be. So now they're saying that they're going to be asking questions about health, and they're giving a definition of what they mean by health. So I'll start with a few questions concerning health in general. So here's a general category of questions. So they're general health. The next question is about your main job. So there was a switch of topics. Right here, how have you worked at a job or business in the last 12 months? So now they're doing a bit of a switch from the health ones. And then they're kicking into volunteerism. Okay, so that's more like a data dictionary, a manual for a computer-assisted telephone interview method. Now, this is one that would fit more with what you're doing. This is a research analyst project. This was from an MRP from last year. Oh, I have it as a Word document. I should have PDF'd it. So here's the survey. Oh, close Grammarly. I see what's going on. Just making it bigger. I don't need that. So once again, with any survey, you would start with your introduction. So in this case, hello, we are Maddie, Hayden, and Kate. We are a group of research analyst students from Georgian College. We are working with the City of Barrie's Environmental Services Department to research and help improve participation in the Green Bin program. If you decide to participate, you will be asked a series of questions regarding your past experience with the Green Bin program. Anonymous, so key information here. At the end of the survey, you'll be given the opportunity to be entered to win a gift basket from the Barrie Farmers Market, valued at $130. Okay. Now, not the best, but okay. Now, they did a screener question. Do you live in Barrie? The person had to live in Barrie, so they're not doing it. They're not saying if no, end of survey. If yes, so they haven't really documented it perfectly, but I'm fine with what they've done so far. And then the age questions, what best describes your gender. Now they're doing the demographics first. They probably should have done it at the end. They probably should have kicked in, do you live in Barrie? Do you have a green bin? And then a whole series of questions. And then they actually do have some skips here. Often do you incorporate the green bin into your garbage routine? Always. Go to 13A. So this is a manual for the survey. This is more in line with the type of manual that you'll include with your proposal. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. But it should have its skips. And you won't have any piping. So just an example. Now, you can also, because we're working with SPSS, you'll also, SPSS basically has it's not a manual, but it is a data dictionary. So I have here the voter survey data and dictionary for, this was a study done by Stats Canada. It was commissioned out to a polling firm, and they were looking at voter behavior. Oh, download it, what the hell. They looking at voter behavior, and there's an election from around like 2000 or so, and they asked people, did you vote in the last federal election? If yes, they had a series of questions. If no, and what they were interested in was why voter turnout isn't as high as it should be. So I have that as an SPSS file. So you can usually dig out like a survey summary of all the questions that are in that survey in SPSS. And I'll just walk through that. A little squirrel that's running in SPSS. Very slow, very slow. It was nice to meet many of you today during our little meeting time. It was nice to put a face to the name. Okay, so I have a recent open, recently used data. There we go. You could have downloaded it if you wanted. You don't have to do it right now. There we go. What it does is, as we know, SPSS is really good for survey data. It's pretty well what it was designed for. It has all of the variables are columns, and the row represents each respondent to the survey. And if I go down to the bottom of the file, we'll do more SPSS and stats next week. I have 5,641 respondents in this data set. And there are a lot of questions. So if I want to look at, this is the actual raw data, right? This is what was imputed or entered into the system. Variable view. This is the metadata. So this is data about data, and it represents the information on each of the variables. Many organizations, traditional organizations, follow the older standards for variable naming, and the older standards where the variable name had to be 8 characters or less. So you couldn't have any variable name that was longer than 8 characters, which really compressed how much information you could put in those 8 characters. And oftentimes the you can embed the name of the question or the description of the question in the variable name. Right? And the variable name is what SPSS uses. So SPSS, when it does its analysis and churns out data, it's doing it and tagging it to the variable name. So, for example, if I have this, I can look at, did you vote in the last federal election? Right? That's Q6. So I want to see how many people voted. So I analyze, report a descriptive stats, frequencies. I can pick, I want variable 6. And you'll see here in SPSS here, it gives you the label, but not the variable name, but the label, which is the description associated with that variable. I can always switch to variable names, and I want Q6. And I can switch back. And then a chart, so nice. Let's do a pie chart. And I go, okay. Now, you can see here the syntax up here. We talked about this a couple weeks ago in stats. The syntax, what the SPSS actually ran, because SPSS is a syntax-based language, because, as we said last week, it's very batch-based in terms of you write a whole series of commands in SPSS syntax language, and then you execute those commands, and it runs SPSS, and it runs a procedure. As you can see here, the frequencies function. It's running, it goes variable. Frequencies is the procedure, and then variables Q6. So SPSS, when it goes to run a procedure, it runs it using as the identifier the variable name, which in this case is Q6. And then the subcommands with the / pie chart, frequency, order, analysis, that's just the order that it's in. And I can see in this data set that for question 6, did you vote in the last federal election in 2000, 17% didn't vote, 80% actually voted. And 116 people were too drunk to even know whether they voted or not, or too high. So don't know, no answer. Man, I was so wasted, man. I don't know whether I voted in 2000, man. Man, what a year. Okay. Never mind. Now, that's the actual data. And it also has the value labels. Remember, we talked about how SPSS is very much a punch card mentality. And we saw in the frequencies, variable 6, they can either, it's blank, system missing is a 0. If they said yes, it was coded as a 1. If they said no, it was coded as a 2. And 9 is don't know, no answer, which would be defined as missing. So if it sees a 9, this is from last week in stats, if it sees a 0 or a 9, those are missing values. Now, when I go back here, here's question 6 right here. And it's got 1s and 2s, right? 1 equals they did vote, 2 means that they didn't vote. I can toggle on the value labels. So I can see, okay, let's not look at the raw numbers that SPSS works with. Let's see the actual responses. This is an overlay. This isn't what SPSS actually works with. This is giving you a view, right? It's putting a filter on here and just saying, okay, lay on top of it, lay on top of the numbers what those numbers represent. And in this case, the number 1 represents voted, and number 2 represents did not vote. And I can toggle that off. So that is the metadata about the variable. Now, in terms of a description or a manual for the survey, I can try and pull one out of the metadata for SPSS from the variable view. And I can do that through Analyze Reports, Codebook. So the codebook's kind of like a data dictionary. I can take all the variables,